Hey, Patrick here, and today I'd like to share with you this, which is the Arduino shield for the SFX-100 project. The goal of this thing is to do all the wiring for these TB25 connectors with just these pins that plug right onto the Arduino Leonardo. So it eliminates all the sort of rat's nest wiring and kind of that whole error-prone process of getting these connectors wired up to this thing. So the basic gist of this guy is that in addition to the DB25 connectors, also has this RJ45 jack, and this is for the e-stop. And I have over here one of these e-stops, and pretty sure this is the one from the shopping list. And this thing has a couple of different switches on it. One of them is normally open, the other one is normally closed. For this thing, we're using the normally closed side, which is this orange side. And what I've done is just kind of wired those two screws up to this RJ45 jack, which I will put a link to this thing in the description. But basically it breaks out your RJ45 into the 8 pins, and the ones that we're interested in for this project are pin 1 and pin 8. So those are the two that you want to get connected to your RJ45, or I guess you could probably just cut a Ethernet cable open and pull the right colored cables out. I think if you look in here, you can kind of see what colors they are. It's hard to focus on that. But I think it's like orange and white and brown are the two that are used. But anyway, this is probably even better because you have just a straight Ethernet cable that goes between these two. So you connect that guy there, and this guy here, and that's your e-stop. So it's ready to go, and makes it really easy to disconnect, or just these cables are super easy to find everywhere. So that's the reason for that guy. And what else do we have on here? I guess one thing you should be aware of is this little jumper port here, and this jumper. And this is just a way to kind of bypass the e-stop if you are testing, or maybe you want to hook it up a different way. You don't want to use this modular jack. You can hook up a switch across these. I also have this little jumper thing here, so if you put this on here, that will permanently enable the board no matter what your e-stop is saying. This thing will basically always make the board enabled and allow motion. So super important that this jumper be cleared when you are actually using the thing with an e-stop. All right, so connecting this thing to the Leonardo, well, couldn't be simpler. There's these pin headers on the bottom. We've got the short row and the long row, and basically just find these points and then just push them together like that. And that is it. This thing is done and ready to use. So yeah, quite a big difference from the process of doing all that breadboard wiring or all the other techniques that are out there for this. This really makes it a simple plug and play operation. So in addition to the board, this is a prototype, by the way. We will be getting fabricated boards from a factory in China pretty soon. So that's super exciting news, and everybody's going to get a chance to have one of these for what I think is a very fair price. We're going to do a group buy, and no profit on this thing. We're just sharing the price from the factory and some shipping costs to get these things out to anybody who wants one. There's also, I will put a link to this on the description, this enclosure box, and this is designed so that you can just slip the board in. I recommend going from this side. There's these two little ridges here that we want to clear. Those are to keep the lid on. All right, and then just snap that in. So this thing is now sitting nice and flat on those studs at the bottom. And to get this thing mounted, what you want is some M3 screws. So these guys right here. This is an M3 by 16, and there's 4 of these that go into the board. And this last one here, if you can see, it's pretty close to the pin header. And I haven't had any trouble with this with these screws because the head is pretty small. But if you're using screws with a bigger head on them, you're going to want to take a look and make sure that when you put this in, that it's not going to come down on that solder point and cause any kind of contact or pressure, or we don't want to put any stress on that connection or potentially cause a short. So if your screw heads are too big, I would say just leave that one out. This last one over here is not as long because the Arduino is sitting underneath this one, but this side is just floating higher. So actually this is easier to put in like this. All right, so when you're putting these screws in, definitely want to sort of be gentle. We don't want to put too much stress on the board or crack it or anything. It's just sort of a gentle hand tight to snug the board down and keep it from vibrating and rattling. So get that guy in. Get these guys in. This last screw was an M3 by 8, by the way. I think M3 by 4 would be fine there too. All right, so now we have this board firmly seated in the enclosure. And as you can see, we have the USB port accessible here and the power port in case you need that. On the other side is the RJ45. And along with the box is this lid, and it has these little grooves that fit into these guys here. So I recommend starting from this side and then just clicking those in. And that is it. Everything is assembled and ready to go. All you really need is plug in your e-stop, and that's ready to go. So yeah, thanks for checking out the project, and we're gonna be making these available pretty soon. We're just kind of working out logistics with the factory in China, and also just figuring out how many people actually want one of these. So if you are interested, please make sure that you check on the message boards. We are opening threads on all of the major sim racing boards for people to sign up who would like to have one of these boards. Cool. Well, thanks very much for your time. And yeah, super excited to share this project with you. And yeah, thanks to everyone who made this project happen, and everyone out there who is supporting the SFX-100 platform. It's super fun. I'm having a lot of fun, and super excited to share this with you. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye.